everyone, and welcome to Women's Health Tech Wednesdays. I am your host, Nina Joshi. To formally bring on our guest for today, Vandana Yadav, who is the Assistant Director of Research at HITLAB. Vandana, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Nina. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Really excited to learn more. I think maybe a great place to start is if you could just give the audience a little bit just of an introduction and a background of yourself.
Sure. So I work with HITLAB as the Assistant Director for Research. It's been over 5.5 years now that I've been with the lab. Something that inherently drives my passion is amalgamation of healthcare and technology, and HITLAB perfectly sits at this niche place of promoting that. So as far as my background goes, I have my engineering in biotechnology from University of Delhi. Then I pursued my master's in research in biomedical sciences from University of Edinburgh. And soon after working 1 year in a microbiology lab, I came across HITLAB and was very excited to see how our interest for research in digital health aligns very well. And rest is what I have been working here, getting accustomed to so many exciting projects, so many different companies and entrepreneurs. It has been a transformational journey for me. And thank you again for inviting me to this talk. Really excited to talk about research in women health.
Absolutely. And maybe a great place to start, Vandana, is a little bit of a deep dive into the work that you're doing at HITLAB. So maybe I think a great place to start is if you could provide us with an overview of, the types of research that's conducted at HITLAB and maybe some of the primary focus areas that you're working on.
Sure. So, being a digital health lab, we research at the intersection of healthcare and technology. This involves, ideating, conceptualizing, building, testing, verifying lots of digital health solutions or health technology solutions, not just to improve the way healthcare is delivered or, to improve patient outcomes, but overall to improve the efficiency of healthcare system. And if we talk about some focus areas or types of research that we do, number one, I would like to mention the effectiveness of digital health intervention that we test. There are so many solutions that have various types of claims around effectiveness, that we are going to improve a clinical outcome by so much percent, or we're going to reduce the healthcare cost, or we're going to save time for providers. But it's very important that those outcomes are fulfilled and are fulfilled in a manner that is safe, that is trustworthy. So HITLAB, techs sort of test and evaluates that thoroughly, that how well they are landing up on this promise. So it's just not about them claiming and using marketing language, but it is about us really testing that in real world scenarios using human subject research and building an evidence driven insight for them or for their partners or potential investors who want to work with those companies or with those solutions. So usually these kind of studies which are around effectiveness testing are longer, like 3 to 6 months, depending what you're trying to prove, what is the therapeutic area, what is the participant pool like. But they are strong evidence for establishing a base or sort of proving that this is what the solution does and it really works. So that's forefront at the center of the research that we do. And in addition to that, a lot of our studies are about usability or the user experience. It's very important that you test the user centricity of a solution, how it is built, the design of the interface, the learnability, the mechanisms to prevent error, or how smooth it is for navigation, what is the terminology used, how intuitive, how secure, how compatible with other solutions that I wanted to be compatible with. So all those things are tested in usability studies. These could be some things like heuristic analysis, like an expert from the team will first develop a persona of a target user and then have a cognitive walk through the platform or solution and use some usability heuristics to derive a solution or an evaluation. And there could be, of course, the traditional surveys and interviews of actual real world users to gain their feedback on how does the solution work. And very often we use these insights for, to build together what I would call what are the key essential toolkit or feature capabilities required for, let's say, minimal viable product or a low fidelity prototype. So that's how the user experience research is all tied together. So this is the element about usability studies or user experience studies.
Mhm.
Then the third major sector of studies that we do involves landscape research. How
Hmm.
do we comprehensively analyze the technology ecosystem of
Right.
the healthcare industry or the niche area that you're going after? This not just takes into consideration, okay, what's happening, what's latest, what is the current trend, but also about um, if we are understanding a particular focus area for our partner or the sponsor that we are working for, we deep dive into it, like what
Mhm.
makes most sense, who could be potential competitors, who could be potential partners, how can we learn more about the company, about its financial standing, what is their solution like, what is the formulation, what value propositions are they offering, what sort of gaps are already being filled by the solutions that exist in the market, and where are the gaps which are still to be addressed, and how can our sponsor or a health tech company help address those gaps. So that
Mhm.
all comes under landscape research. And another thing which is very connected can be market and strategy research, which is more
Oh,
about
interesting.
examining the factors that influence a business or industry.
Mhm.
So not just about market size, trends, customer needs, or customer behavior, but also a company's internal capabilities. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? How well it is aligning with the opportunities or the threats, or the evolution the industry is witnessing. And combining all that, we generate insights that are very informative for making key decisions or deciding which pathway a company wants to go. These are the major things. And of course, yeah, one more, which is very interesting, is a little different, but still can be a subcategory of market research. It's innovation research.
Hmm.
So we, search and investigate novel ideas, technologies, and approaches that have the potential to transform the landscape. They haven't done it so far, but they are indicating some factors that hold the potential for them to do so. So, where the industry is turning, what is the exciting trend, what is the hype versus the true potential or realistic potential balance,
Yeah.
all those things. For example, how we started discussing generative AI and its
Right.
implications for healthcare, or blockchain a while ago, right? Or some people also are discussing how would 3D printing of drugs affect healthcare supply chains.
Interesting.
But imagine if 3D centralized, and at your pharmacy can print a formulation that works for you, or the dosage or the combination that works for you. If you
Mhm.
want 75 mg, you can have 75 mg instead of 50.
Yeah.
Or there are solutions where for kids you can add flavors in them, or shapes for people with cognitive impairment, for them to remember this is has to be taken particular day or particular time. Yeah, there this is very exciting where the industry is going and what are the possibilities. But yeah, this is an essential, what are our chief focus areas in research at the lab.
That's amazing. Number one, that's so interesting to see this new innovation. And it must be so exciting to really have your pulse on what's new and interesting. And also, Vandana, I really like when you're talking about the research of how all-encompassing it is, from the efficacy to experience. I think all of those different components are so important. And for folks that are maybe, interested in HITLAB for research, is there a particular like stage in which you've seen where you're kind of more involved in a product? Is it earlier stage? Does it matter at all when a company or an organization comes to you for research?
To be honest, research is required at almost all stages of a
Yep.
company and success.
Absolutely.
For example, let's begin with ideation,
Mhm.
right? You require research at that stage. You want to understand what literature review says, what solutions already exist. Is it a good idea to pursue, or am I more likely to fail, right? And
Mhm.
then when you conceptualize it, you build a minimal viable product. You need research to understand what your competitors are doing, what capabilities they are already offering. And then
Absolutely.
let's say you have developed the prototype. Now you have to validate it for that, so that the world believes. You have to build
Mhm.
evidence so that you can go to regulatory bodies, or you can go to providers and say that, look, you accept this, you prescribe this, and whatnot. And even for, companies that have established themselves, let's say you have done your strategic research as well, your market penetration research as well, you're a fairly established company. But we all saw what happened during COVID. There were so many established firms who were like, which were not resilient enough to handle it, right? To handle that scale of unanticipated situation. So
Hmm.
now people are looking into how do we become more resilient?
Right.
How do we predict, where the industry is turning? How do we stay relevant, stay sustainable? So that research also comes in. Almost in every aspect, you have to be curious and, keep looking and doing your research.
That's so powerful. And that's a great reminder of how when research is really integrated into each step of the process, that's where it's really powerful. And kind of the importance of the iterative process, right? So I wholeheartedly agree with that. Kind of also wanted to ask, I think you touched on this a little bit, but in your kind of view, how does research organizations like HITLAB, really contribute to the overall advancement of healthcare tech and just innovation more broadly?
Right. So, as I mentioned, by doing research and analysis, which is very important for success of any company or to improve outcomes, to generate the relevant evidence, validation and testing. So we do all that stuff.
Mhm.
In addition to that, we also facilitate, collaboration and partnerships between healthcare organizations or technology companies. Some of the example through which we do it, for example, the HitLab Hub or the Breakthrough Alliance community, we are really trying to create an ecosystem where like-minded folks can come together, where ideas can be shared, and a collaborative effort can lead to, development of more innovative healthcare solution. We
Definitely.
have now understood as an industry, as many industries have understood, that collaboration is much better than competition, and open innovation should be embraced when and ever possible. And besides this, HitLab also works actively in the sector of education, diffusion, and sort of facilitating industry interactions, whether it's
Mm,
through our events, the HitLab Innovators Summit, the symposia that we hold, or just right now we are having this Women Health Tech Wednesdays, or the BTA challenges that we hold. We are
mhm,
really trying to make a buzz, make a spur in the ecosystem, that this is what is worth talking about. This is what we should be pursuing. We should be discussing. We should be exchanging insights, what we are learning in our particular facet of healthcare, so that collaboratively as an ecosystem, we can do better. We can have peer-to-peer learning. And sort of to tie this up all together, we also like to do thought leadership. How can we publish more research papers, more reports and articles that are more informative about latest trends or innovations or the right methodologies around research. So really the goal is to shape the industry discussions and influence the decision makers in healthcare, not just by developing relevant evidence and trustworthy, impactful evidence, but also acting as a facilitating medium for these dialogues, for diffusion of more digital health um, insights, and also for circulating the thought leadership around.
mhm. I like that you mentioned that because I feel like even just creating space for conversation and for dialogue already is a huge win. So I like that you kind of, folded in the power of community and collaboration when it comes to just moving the industry forward. So I really love that. Vandana, I wanted to kind of ask you a little bit and get more of a deep dive into kind of some of the women's health aspects. I know that there's a lot of work that you're doing when it comes to just women's health, specific topics or issues. Are there any research initiatives or projects that you're currently working on within this realm?
Mhm. Well, there are many, but let me mention some of them. For example, recently we worked with BirthView. BirthView has developed an AI-based label and delivery solution, which sort
Wow.
of leverages the patient data to optimize childbirth experiences. The aim is, how can we increase the chances of vaginal birth and reduce, hospital stays or fetal mortality.
Mhm.
So we did a heuristic study for them as well as a usability study, where we interviewed some clinicians, presented them the platform, and tried to understand how is it in the labor rooms right now, what are the solutions, technology they have in place, and
Mhm.
would they be open enough to embrace a technology like BirthView. And one of the most significant revelations that we had was that the integrate nature of integrating, technology within labor room environments, it's
Mhm.
so tough. Clinicians are facing a lot of screens and monitors,
Right.
but all the calculations that they are doing is in their mind, of course, and based on their experience. There is no clear-cut decision-making tool or AI-based decision-making tool, at their hand currently.
Right.
Also, talking from the patient's perspective, and talking about labor and childbirth, studies have said that having a doula improves the patient's response and its awareness and its empowerment in the labor room. They just
Mhm.
feel more relaxed because the relaxation therapies are very beneficial. But when it comes to clinicians, the needs are far more sophisticated. For a solution to empower and assist clinician, it has to take into account the patient's medical history,
Right.
then what the treatment that has been given, then the response to the treatment, then the labor progression, how it is that going, the fetal progression, if the fetal is safe or not, and then the adherence with the clinical guidelines. So we understood how complicated this is, and
Mhm.
an AI solution to really act as a decision making tool has to take these considerations into account and then try to come up with a solution.
Mhm.
But the process begins with understanding, so that was really an exciting project to work on.
Interesting.
And then of course, Curio Digital Therapeutics. So Curio has developed an app called the Mama Lift app, which is addressing postpartum depression, sort of
Mhm.
improving lives of women experiencing perinatal mood disturbances.
Right.
So we did a trial for them, like a randomized trial controlled intervention arm, to see how Mama Lift is able to improve postpartum outcomes, postpartum depression outcomes over like 8 weeks. It was
Mhm.
like one patients enrolled. We found that 83% of participants in the intervention arm actually achieved a clinically significant improvement in depression as
Wow.
compared to just 22% in the control arm. So almost four times intervention results were better, which is great. I mean, this is a big proof how a digital health intervention, can turn around outcomes for patients.
Absolutely.
And we all understand how big issue postpartum depression is, right? It's a big phase of a woman's life when they're going through so many things, and they have to take care of the baby as well. So depression is the last thing that they should be experiencing at that point. So I loved working on this project and learning that this is effective. Um, and another project that I can recall is Verbena. They have developed a digital care platform, a telehealth consultation platform,
Mhm.
especially for women. So they are, offering telehealth consultation in all women health related aspects, anything from start of menstruation to menopause.
Mhm.
Not just teleconsultations, the test and sort of educational resources as well to give you a more rounded support. And we did a heuristic analysis and a cognitive walkthrough for the patient platform. So that also was very exciting. And we made some recommendations of how they can, become a little more user friendly and sort of have some progress indicators here and there, or there could be autofill suggestions. So just, convenience of users and overall navigation.
Yeah.
And lastly, one more project that I would like to mention is Fem Therapeutics. That's the company which is using artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and cloud software. And all that is integrated in their gynecology platform, which is actually making patient-specific intravaginal devices for
Huh.
common public health conditions. I was
Interesting.
just blown off when I when I heard about it.
Yeah.
When I read about it, vaginal pessaries is an under-researched area, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, a key issue of unnecessary hysterectomies. So, what they are doing is they are making customizable pessary for women with
Mhm.
pelvic disorders. So that's
Amazing.
phenomenal as a thinking point, as an idea itself, right?
Right.
So we conducted expert narrative analysis of some specialized clinicians who were qualified enough to talk on this topic and
Mhm.
helped Fem Therapeutics understand what are the pain points, what are
Mhm.
the deficiencies of the use or prescription of pessaries, what are the patterns like
Right.
for pelvic pro labs, and we collected data on current practices and patterns so that these insights can be utilized to more refine the solution.
I wanted to ask you too, Vandana, I think for anyone on the call that is, really interested in pursuing a career in healthcare research or just spending more time in this space, do you have any advice, any words of wisdom, anything that you can share for those that are interested in pursuing a path in research?
Well, I would say be curious,
I like,
stay informed of what's happening. And then it's very important that you cultivate a mindset for analytical thinking and thought leadership. To not just work on assignments or projects, work towards a mission.
right.
Have that passion, have that goal that you are not just about, performing good on a particular project or having some yearly milestones, but what is your mission? What inspires you? Be very self-aware about that. And for healthcare industry, I would say be agile and adaptive because it's a
Yeah.
dynamic field. It is, changing very fast. It many times explores interdisciplinary approaches. So you have to be really ready to embrace innovation and integrate new ways of working, and also be very persistent and resilient because many times research doesn't lead to an answer per se, but it leads to a
Like
better
that.
research question. This is what you should be looking after, or searching more for. um, and then lastly and most importantly, be empathetic. It's not like any other industry. We are just not working for numbers or money or customer satisfaction at the end of it. It's about reducing pain, it's about curing diseases, it's about lowering mortality wherever possible, it's about improving quality of life. So you got to be considerate, you have to be passionate enough to work in this industry. So if you have all these things, then you should definitely come to healthcare and try to make a difference.
I absolutely love that. And I think a lot of folks as well on who are listening are really resonating with just, the empathy component and how that's so, so important. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And yeah, really, this is so, so inspiring. I know we have time for maybe one or two more questions. So if there's any in from our participants, feel free to chat it out. But also kind of, I have a question, which is, I think I'm very curious. I feel like we've been hearing a lot about disparities in health research more from a participant perspective and really the need to have more diverse and representative samples in research. Kind of curious to get your thoughts on, some of what we're seeing there. And I think a lot of that also just means just having organizations and HITLAB is one that's, doing a really great job of just dedicating resource to research in the first place. Wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that, on why it's so important for organizations to even allow space for research to happen.
So, research is crucial. It fuels innovation. It drives the development of advanced medical technologies and improving the treatment methods. So, it's just not about providing evidence-based foundation,
Mm-hmm.
but to ensure that healthcare practices are grounded in, scientific findings,
Absolutely.
and then lead to better patient outcomes. And it also sort of plays a very important role in addressing all sorts of global health challenges, whether it's about early prediction of diseases, whether it's about improving our diagnostic tools, or
Right.
just in general how effectively healthcare is delivered across the globe. So essentially, it forms the basis of like development and success of any digital health technology. You need it at every stage. You need it to remain informed, to remain relevant, to remain sort of aligned with where the industry is going. So it's research is really like a cornerstone for creating future landscape, healthcare landscape, a landscape that is efficient, that is adaptable, that is um, equitable, just addressing the user needs. It's user centric, patient centric, and it's also affordable and it's accessible. So that's why it's very important that you do your research, you understand the different parameters, the different studies, the different approaches people have been following over the decades in finding answers to some research questions, and sort of accumulate that insight together. And now that we have technologies like AI or generative AI, it just, empowers us even more in terms of accumulating those insights, or, some quick analysis of publications and whatnot. So why not we, leverage that and even use it for further promotion or further solidifying our research in various aspects?
100%. I think that is really a rallying cry if I've ever heard of one, of just the power of research and how it really is, part of the DNA of innovation. So really, really wanted to thank you, Vandana, for joining our conversation today. I realize that we are at time. It was such a delight to get your perspective and really remind us of the importance of research and of iterative research and kind of having that integrated into just the core of an organization. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much. It was lovely having me here. And I mean, it was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.